In the National Union of Mineworkers now, and I'm joined by William Mabapa from that particular union. William, thank you for joining me and a good morning to you. So 9 years on, your organization, the National Union of Mineworkers, was, part of the story really that transpired in Marikana, the disgruntlement that had developed with how you were acquitting yourself as a union, particularly in that particular area, and the demands that those particular workers had. In a moment, you and I can talk about what has transpired by way of you growing the union and perhaps trade unionism in general in South Africa. But just from your own reflections, 9 years on, what comes to mind? Where are we in as far as Marikana is concerned? Have we reckoned with what happened and the issues to do with justice?
There are many faults that I can raise in Marikana. One of the fact is that we do appreciate that there is no development in Marikana. But the other reality that we must also take into account without any defense is that issues that were a priority of the Marikana at that stage, you must recall that when the Marikana happened, as the NUM, we concluded wage agreements at that particular time. And to our observation in terms of that, there is a slow pace that was there that still exists even when we are not NUM alone, but the pace is still what one can say. It is still the same pace. But as to what then happened from 9 years today, the truth of the matter is, yes, there is no development. But one of the critical issues is we seem to put also more focus only on the government. I take it that the developments happened at the mine, and the mine is not a government mine. So the mines are owned by the mining houses, and the development must be done through the mining houses. We are not saying that the government must not take responsibility. In certain areas, like if you look at the settlements, the settlement must be a collaboration between the mines and the human settlement from the government, because zoning places and others are areas that, yes, government must assist. So to me or to NUM, we are putting the blame both to the employer and to the government. And we focus more to say the people that must more focus on development in terms of housing is the mining. We have got Mining Charter 3 as we speak today. And the Mining Charter 3 is very well explicit that what needs to be done in terms of housing. But one of the critical issues that we need to put very blunt and be open and honest, we have got a very weak department called the DMRE department, because they put a law, they themselves don't know what is happening in that law. If you can go and ask them, that you have got Mining Charter 3, that is in 3 years, only left with 2 years. Is there houses in line with the Mining Charter? And the answer is no. At the end of the day, those are some of the issues that we are asking ourselves a lot of questions, that why do you become a regulator that only are good in issuing a license, but a regulator that can go and say that I gave you this license, you comply on 1, 2, 3. If you don't comply on 1, 2, 3, I take the license.
Let's talk about developments within the trade union movement. The NUM, of course, is part of the COSATU fold, and you are part of the broader alliance with the ANC, the tripartite alliance. What is your reading of where you stand as a union these days? Because I imagine that your brand as a union, as the vanguard of workers, suffered a great deal in the wake of the events of 9 years ago in Marikana.
I think when you look at the alliance in a broad sense of the alliance, there is still what we can talk without shade of doubt, that yes, there are areas that we have benefited much as the labor out of the alliance. You must know that we do have good labor relation acts, not only the labor relation act, but you look at basic conditions of employment and skills development and others. In essence, if you compare us with many countries, we are more progressive in terms of those laws. But yes, there are areas that are gray areas. There are areas that we can say that those progress were more seen from 1994. As we speak today, in 2021, I can say that I don't think that the relationship is good. I don't think that we are benefiting more on the relationship. There are a lot of challenges. One of the big challenges that we can see is that, particularly with the ministers in these administrations, ministers in this administration, painful as it is that majority of them are ministers that come from trade unions, if we must be honest and brutal. But they undermine trade unions. We must be blunt and put it very clear. Maybe it's a fact that they strongly believe that they know our politics, they know our shenanigans, they know who's leading unions, whether they were in agreement with them during the time of when. Yeah, I will take it that the relationship today is not good. It needs to be discussed, that because if the relationship can be as it is, I don't see us sustaining this relationship for a long time, because workers are starting to question a lot about what is the purpose of this alliance. Wow. And as the leadership of unions, we need to be very clear and open that can we sustain the dissatisfaction of our members on the ground, the manner in which things are done. You can look at the ESCOM, it's a crisis.
Wow. So those are pretty strong words. And if I was any of the leaders in government, in the Cyril Ramaphosa administration, I would sit up and take heed and pay careful attention to what you just said as part of the broader tripartite alliance. But a parting shot from me to you, Mr. Mabapa, does it sit well with you, just as a South African, and a South African who's an activist in civil society, part of the trade union movement and part of the tripartite alliance in the way that we have described, that questions of justice don't seem to be moving at all? Now we're talking specifically justice for the killings that happened in Marikana. And to be clear, not just the 34 killings, but all 44 people that were killed during the course of that week, that 2-week period in Marikana. How does it sit with you that as a constitutional democracy, we can't bring anyone to book for murders, really, that happened 9 years ago?
No, I think to be frank and honest with you, I don't know whether there is justice in South Africa, because justice can't be classified about somebody that has got money. In South Africa, we are making an observation that says, if you have got money, you are well protected in terms of justice. If you don't have money, you are on your own. So I want to put it very blunt that there is no justice in South Africa. So maybe one of the struggles that we must fight for is the struggle about justice. So like you are saying, what directs issues? I will take it that, let us assume this thing happened, there was a commission, and we take it that, no, it's fine, let us give a commission a chance. Then a commission finish, and then it makes a presentation. And those are the things that you ask yourself, what are the purpose of commissions in South Africa? Because after these commissions, there is nothing that is going to be done. How many commissions? Let us put them, the Marikana Commission, Falam Commission aside, but how many commissions did we have in South Africa, and who took responsibility out of those commissions? And to me, I can say and I will repeat, one thing that needs to happen in South Africa is a process where we must create justice. A justice where, for example, we may put timelines, that there must not be a case that drags more than 12 months unjustified. And the minimum must be, there must not be a case that drags for 24 months. And then the matter must be closed. Those who are there must account. And if they don't account, then they must go out there. We must make an assessment and say, you can't sit here and then you don't resolve the problem. And then at the end of the day, you just earn a salary. Because I will take it that let us take a process where these processes are running in the justice system. How much lawyers and then how much everybody made. Now, these things just become a business. It must drag and drag for many years. Out of that dragging, there are beneficiaries. Others are going to be rich and just be rich because the dragging means a lot of millions and monies out of other people. But the reality of the matter is, myself, a victim, let us take the 44, like you are saying, the victims, which are the families that must get the closure. How do they get closure? Because there is no closure at all costs. For them, they've got outstanding cases that can't finish themselves. And the people that we must think, and justice must think, is the poor of the poor. The victims are the ones that the cases must finish and make a closure out of that issue. But I can tell you, this is a business.
William Mabapa, I've got to thank you for your candid engagement with me this morning on the issues to do with the Marikana situation. Really strong words there coming from the Deputy General Secretary of the National Union of Mineworkers, reflecting on not just the tripartite alliance led by the ANC, but also on questions of justice for what happened in Marikana. In fairness to the National Prosecuting Authority, I did not invite them to be part of this conversation. So I'm going to make this open invitation on air and say they are more than welcome. Mthunzi Maga knows how to reach me, Shamila Patoya and the rest of the team. To set the record straight, tell us where things stand. Last I checked, the trial of people such as former Major General William Bembe was still ongoing. There were still a number of trials that were taking place, as you saw there from Michael Marilia's report. But where do things stand? Why does it take so long to get to the conclusion of those cases? And in particular, as Michael was saying, for what happened on the 16th. Yes, justice for what happened before the 16th, but can we see some movement in as far as the actual day on the 16th where 34 mine workers were killed?